Good evening. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. It's January 30th as I record this on a Tuesday evening. We're going to go through a mock draft here of the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm going to be using PFF's mock draft simulator. It's just I like the platform and the profiles that I get to see on it. And I don't always, take what the grades and everything like means word for word, but I do think it's a good way to just have fun mocking. And I think the point of this is one to just identify some teams that maybe need some fantasy skill positions for just for our dynasty thoughts and things like that. But we'll try to go through all 32 teams. We'll make some picks. I'm going to do some educated guesses at what teams need and some things like that. But I'm mostly interested in just kind of having fun and just trying a few things. And this is it's January 30th. I'm going to try and do maybe 2 or 3 of these a month and just kind of continue to do them as we get closer to the NFL draft. And I know the Senior Bowl just started up this week. So there's going to be, players and things moving. Of course, when the NFL Combine happens, there'll be some more movement there too. But here we go. We're going to screen share here. We're going to start just setting it up here. We're just going to do the first round today. If you guys do want me to do more, we can do more, and we can always do a live stream mock draft. That might be kind of fun as well. But it looks like here I have all teams selected, and let's just go ahead and hit enter to the draft. And I'm not going to mess around with any trades. I think there's going to be some trades for sure. If the Bears trade away Justin Fields, what kind of capital can they get back in return for that? Can they get a mid to late first for it? Can they get something, in the 20s, like what if Pittsburgh traded for him or something like that? But I think I'm just going to do this one straight up. And this is purely just for fun and for research purposes. So sit back, enjoy, and let's have some fun mock drafting. And if you saw the thumbnail of this video, you probably know where I'm going with this. So I'm just going to hit start the draft and let's see what we can do. The Bears, they need QB, receiver. It says center, defensive line, cornerback here. It seems pretty locked up that it's Caleb Williams going number 1 overall, whether it's Chicago or I don't know if Washington or New England can put together a package that would make the Bears trade back. But I'm open to that. But I think for now, again, January 30th, we're going to put Caleb Williams to the Chicago Bears. And I just want to see if I can, I wish I could see like a little bit of their depth chart and things like that, but they are offering me some trades here. The New England Patriots are trying to trade up and looks like we'd be swapping some things here. But like I said, I'm just going to play this one straight up and let's just get Caleb Williams here to the Chicago Bears. And with this happening, the Bears are going to get something for Justin Fields. I think he's worth they could probably get a first round pick back for him. I don't know if Atlanta's gonna do it. I don't think so. That'd be pretty crazy. 108 for Fields. I think that's kind of fun. Denver Broncos need a quarterback. The Raiders could use a quarterback. Seattle could use a quarterback. You also have the Steelers. That's kind of the cutoff here. I think the Cardinals down here where I think they're happy with Kyler Murray. No other really team needs it down here. So I think that's kind of the sweet spot. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Seahawks, maybe that could get an equal first round trade value, but otherwise, if Atlanta's going to do it, there might be some more pieces involved. So let's go ahead and just get Caleb Williams there to the Chicago Bears. And moving on to the second pick here, you have the Washington Commanders. And, QB needs, that's kind of the theme of the beginning of the draft here. I thought Sam Howell played fine, but I don't think he's a franchise quarterback here. So it's going to take a lot of analysis and research to figure out, is Drake May worth the number 2 overall pick? I think the other quarterback that intrigues me there is going to be the LSU quarterback, and he's down the list a little bit. He's down here at 11, Jaden Daniels, who I think is really exciting. I don't know if he's going to put up a combine that just, blows it out of the water, and he does some Anthony Richardson things, and he just looks like, the locked-in number 2. I could see that happening. But I think right now Drake May, and a lot of people, like to, combine him or call him basically Justin Herbert-like, and I think that makes a lot of sense. If you watch his tape, he does a lot of the nice things that he does. And I'm not signed into my PFF, but I would have grades for all 32 here. So let's actually sign in real quick, and we can restart this so we can see all the grades. I should be signed in now. So let me just restart real quick. Where is NFL Draft Mock Draft Simulator? We'll leave that, and yeah, we'll we'll just quick restart there. So same thing. We're going to lock in Caleb Williams at the start. And then let's just look at what Drake May did in some of his games. A lot of good games. He kind of fizzled down the stretch here. Clemson and looks like NC State, he struggled a little bit, but good games throughout the season. And you can see he basically was the same player he was in 2022. Not as many games, 12 to 14 games here, but huge 2022 success, almost 4,300 yards, 37 touchdowns. And then they lost some players on offense that kind of held back the 2023 offense here. So I think watching Drake May, you got to really look and see some of his 2022 stuff. So I think I'm going to lock in Drake May here at the number 2 pick for the Washington Commanders. But again, I think there's a chance the LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels could make a name for himself in the combine here and really shift some things. But now you have New England Patriots. And obviously they need a quarterback really bad here. And this is where the Jayden Daniels research is going to come in very, very handy, because is he worth – I can't remember a recent draft where 3 QBs opened up the draft here, but it's looking very, very likely that this is the case. And now you could see a lot of things out of New England. If they don't like Jayden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr. he's kind of the prize of this draft that I think. If you don't need QB, you want Marvin Harrison on your team. I think Malik Nabers is also a really good player too. And the Patriots obviously they need a receiver so bad. So I think Marvin Harrison is a fun consolation, but I think right now you probably have to lock in Jayden Daniels. I do think there's going to be teams trying to hop at the Cardinals to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Whether I don't know if the Chargers can do it. I don't know if the Giants or the Titans can do it. Maybe the Bears swoop up. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough firepower from these teams to come up and do it. So we're going to stick with Jayden Daniels here, who had obviously the Heisman winner. I like seeing the growth from each year in the grade, and then, just the growth in the numbers as well. Completion percentage was up to 71%. Usually you see these guys, especially one that likes to run as much as Jayden Daniels does, usually they struggle with accuracy, but he improved each year. So I like to see that. The yards went up, and then I also like seeing the yards per attempt go up. And really good decision maker. Only 7 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. You're getting a 3-year starter, and I think it's going to be a really fun player, and we'll see if the New England Patriots can kind of start their era without Bill Belichick in a little bit of a style here. So we'll go Jayden Daniels here, and then I'm going to run this pick in. The Cardinals are feeling pretty good here. Their only concern is, does a team hop them for Marvin Harrison Jr.? If they don't take Marvin Harrison Jr., they're looking at Malik Nabers. It's a pretty good player here at number 4. But we have to lock in Marvin Harrison. The dude had 2 fantastic seasons the last couple of years, 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns. He basically just repeated what he did in 2022, and he just showed that, hey, I am the best receiver talent to come out of the draft in a little bit here. So I think he's above the Justin Jeffersons and the Jamar Chases and things like that. I think we're looking at a future Hall of Fame wide receiver here. So we're going to go Marvin Harrison, number 4, to the Arizona Cardinals. Let's go ahead and this is where it gets fun. The Chargers here, it says they need running back. We're not drafting a running back with the first pick. That's not happening in the first round of the season. But they do need wide receiver. And the best player on PFF's board is Malik Nabers, who, to me, is also really good. If you watch his tape, he's got elements of Jamar Chase. I think he's one of the safest receiver prospects that we've seen in a while. And I think putting him with Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen maybe got a year or 2 left. You also kind of have the swing and the miss there on Quentin Johnston. Mike Williams, perpetually injured. I think doubling down on receiver makes a lot of sense, and that it's kind of a fun pick. At number 5 overall, getting a receiver. Otherwise, tight end, defensive line, linebacker, cornerback. This draft doesn't really fit those needs at number 5. Maybe they take a tackle here, but probably not. I think Brock Bowers is also very interesting, but I'm not interested in taking a tight end at number 5 overall. I think there's tight ends that I can pay, and there's tight ends that I can get later in the draft that maybe can help us right away. But I think taking Malik Nabers here is probably the most fun. The craziest one might be Cooper DeJean here from Iowa, the cornerback that does fit one of their needs. But as you can see, there's really no the defensive lineman here, Jerzon Newton from Illinois, edge rusher. I think the Chargers need to lean into this one and go with Malik Nabers. So maybe not what they do, but I'm having fun with my mock draft here. So I'm going to give them Malik Nabers. And then moving on to the New York Giants here at number 6. The Giants could do pretty much anything they want with this pick here. It does say that they need QB, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, and DB. Maybe we go ahead and get them Joe Alt here. Let me just Google real quick the Giants depth chart here. I just want to make sure. I can't remember the names of their offensive linemen, but they do have one good one. And they do have Andrew Thomas. That's who I was thinking of. Evan Neal also there. So they have 2 first-round tackles here. So maybe that doesn't make sense for them to take Joe Alt here. Brock Bowers is here. I don't know if that makes sense either. Rome Odunes is another fantastic receiver. I don't think he's in the same tier as Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. So to me, I'm starting to think that this looks like a team that would trade out of their pick. I don't think there's a quarterback on the board here that we're going to reach for. To me, this kind of looks like a team that they're upset that they missed on the top 3 QBs. They're upset that they missed on the top 2 receivers. Bo Nix is their best ranked quarterback available here. So I think this is probably a trade out candidate here. They do need interior offensive linemen. That's probably one of their biggest weaknesses here. And like I said, they do need wide receivers. So Odunze would be a really good pick. Darren Waller, Daniel Bellinger, like maybe they take the tight end here and can just kind of build. It's kind of like taking an offensive lineman too, the way he's built. But otherwise, defense, cornerback could be addressed. I don't really see a lot of talent here in the secondary. So maybe it's Cooper DeJean here at number 6. Maybe it's Brock Bowers. And just because we're having fun here, I'll tell you what, we're gonna go Cooper DeJean, the best cornerback in this draft class, I think, here. So we'll go with the Giants. But like I said, that's a tough one for me to pick. I'm kind of just spraying and praying here and seeing what I can come up with. But then moving on to the Tennessee Titans. And the Titans need wide receiver, all offensive line, and D-back here. So if we go and look at what the Titans are cooking up on this team, new head coach Brian Callahan, Tim Kelly, I can see them wanting to go offense here. They do have a need at left tackle here. They only have 1 first-round pick, Peter Skoronsky, on the left guard spot here. So I think this one is really simple for me. It's going to be Joe Alt. I don't see them taking a tight end, even though they have Chigo Okonkwo, who I think is nice, but Brock Bowers would be an upgrade. But I think we're going to lock in Joe Alt here. Maybe Rome Odunze makes sense at the time, but I think getting Alt default them and starting the regime off with a nice bookend left tackle for Will Levis makes a lot of sense. Okay, moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. They need QB, receiver, edge, and DB. Let's just look at their depth chart real quick and see if we can identify a weakness here. I love their offensive line. They have 3 first-round picks on the offensive line, Matthew Bergeron, a second-rounder, and Drew Dahlman, the center, a fourth-rounder. So I think they're pretty good at that position. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, we know that they're pretty much set with that core, but hey, Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, those are the reserve receivers. They could use a lot of help there. Otherwise, defensively, I mean, you have an old Calais Campbell. Grady Jarrett's getting up there in age as well in terms of defensive linemen. They need some outside linebackers. That could make a lot of sense here. So maybe we have them take an outside linebacker. Otherwise, I like AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates. I like the safeties a lot. Corners could use a little bit of help. So we're not going to go Bowers. Maybe Rome Odunze. Probably not going to go tackle. Maybe defensive line here with Jerzon Newton, though. This is a player that lined up mostly in the B gap and over the tackle. So he's a guy that can kind of come in and help this defensive line here as Grady Jarrett gets older. I don't know much about David Onyemata or Calais Campbell here. So plugging in a guy that can maybe rotate and start with these guys makes a lot of sense. So if you're a Falcons fan, I think Jerzon Newton is probably on the list. Maybe Nate Wiggins, the cornerback here. I think Rome Odunze is a sexy pick, but I'm going to go with Jerzon Newton here, just filling a need for them and getting one of the best defensive linemen in the class. Usually the first lineman goes in the top 2-3 picks, so maybe that's a value there for the Falcons. Moving on to the Chicago Bears, they need, again, we gave the Bears Caleb Williams already. And one of the more popular things that I've seen is just giving them Rome Odunze here. I do think the Bears have many needs that they can fill the position. But you talk about DJ Moore, and I do like Cole Kmet, so I don't think they're going the tight end here, but DJ Moore needs help. Tyler Scott's an okay, third, fourth receiver. Darnell Mooney, don't know if he's going to be back with the team. Not a lot of depth here at the receiver position. Offensive line's okay. We could definitely use some reinforcements here. They only have, one first round pick here, Darnell Wright. I think Tevin Jenkins is going to be fine as he gets settled in and healthy. But maybe offensive lineman here. I don't know much about Fuaga here from Oregon State, but we're going to have fun with this. We're going to go Rome Odunze for Washington, or from Washington for the Chicago Bears. So they get Caleb and Odunze. Moving on to the New York Jets, it says they need wide receiver, tackle, and defensive line here. Fashanu's a guy that I've seen in the top 10 in most mock drafts here, and I just want to look at the New York Jets depth chart on the offensive line real quick before we make this pick. Mekhi Becton doesn't really seem like he's doing all that well, but Elijah Vera Tucker, so they have, two first round tackles. Joe Tippmann, Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern. McGovern's good, but I think we could use some guard help here, but I don't see that being something that they do here because there really is no interior offensive lineman worth that kind of pick here. So it says receiver, tackle, defensive lineman. Looking at the defensive lineman here, you have John Myers Franklin, Quentin Jefferson, and Quinton Williams. So we should probably get Quinton Williams and Jermaine Johnson a nice left side on the D tackle or the edge rusher here. So I think that's probably where I'm going to go. Dallas Turner, I think makes a lot of sense. He's the highest graded edge rusher here. And he's a 3-year starter at Alabama. He's improved. Actually, he had more sacks his freshman year, 5 his sophomore year, 11 in his senior year. But he improved grade-wise each year here. And you can see he lines up mostly, outside tackle. So we're going to give them the best edge rusher available here at pick number 10. Maybe you could convince me at receiver if Odunze falls. And I don't think they're going to go tight end. So we're going to go with Dallas Turner here for the New York Jets. And then let's go ahead and move to the Minnesota Vikings, and this is an interesting one. They have QB needs, RB needs, guard, center, defensive line, linebacker, DB. They have a lot of needs listed here. And of course, we don't know what's going on with Kirk Cousins. We don't know if he's going to be healthy week 1. Don't know if he's going to be getting a deal where that locks him in for the next few seasons. I do know that they have Christian Darrisaw, left tackle. They have Garrett Bradbury, center. I feel pretty good about those guys. I'm not sure I know much about Ed Ingram and Brian O'Neill, both second-round picks. Maybe they could use some right tackle depth here. I think Dalton Reisner is interesting. So maybe some interior offensive linemen at the guard spot, maybe a right tackle here. Otherwise, this team needs a running back. This team needs a running back bad. They're going to look at that round 3. But otherwise here, this defense only has one first-round pick on it, and that's Harrison Smith. Everything else, I think, is fair game for this team. They need first round talent. Brock Bowers is here, but they have TJ Hawk, Olumiyiwa Fashanu. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I want to get him off the board because he's really freaking good. But maybe Nate Wiggins, the cornerback here, dealing with the dealing with the Lions and the Packers, and then whatever the Bears are going to bring at quarterback and wide receiver makes a lot of sense here. And I think Nate Wiggins he's basically he's improved every year. 3 interceptions in his career, but what I like about it is he's mostly an outside corner, and he can line up with the best of them. And I think that's probably where I'm going to go. Although Brock Bowers is sliding here, I think I should probably get him off the board soon. Maybe the edge rusher makes sense here. I still like the tackles quite a bit, but I'm going to give the Vikings a cornerback need here because, they're rocking a Caleb Evans. They're rocking Byron Murphy Jr. is fine. Cameron Bynum, Harrison. We need more secondary help here. Otherwise, I do think, look at this defensive line: Jonathan Bulliard, Harrison Phillips, Dean Lowry, Daniel Hunter. They need some edge rushers. So we're gonna give them the Florida State guy here. This guy's been productive for 3 years, solid grades for both 3 seasons, 27 career sacks. We're gonna give them an edge rusher here, Jared Verse from Florida State. Okay. The Denver Broncos, QB, wide receiver, center, edge, and cornerback. Let's go ahead and see what I'm assuming. Garrett Bowles is still here, but Ben Powers, Lloyd Cushenberry, Quinn Miners, Mike McGlinchey. Interior offensive lineman maybe with Ben Powers, the left guard. Not sure about Lloyd Cushenberry. This team needs more receiver help. They obviously need a quarterback, so I don't think Bo Nix. Maybe this is a Bo Nix spot. I think that could be kind of fun here. He's sitting right here. Where was he at? Number 20. So that's probably the most fun spot. I don't think they're going to take a tight end, but maybe. Troutman, Dulcich, Manhurts, these guys really haven't worked out. I don't know if Sean Payton would, spend a pick this high on a tight end, but I could see it. Otherwise, again, I don't know if I want to go tackle. center edge cornerback. They need some help here. We're just going to lock them in with Nate Wiggins. They do have good corners already. They have, of course, Pat Surtain, but otherwise, Fabian Moreau, not a lot of depth here at the corner position. We're going to lock in Nate Wiggins here for the Denver Broncos at number 12. And then the Raiders, they kind of have a lot of needs as well. QB, receiver, offensive line, D-line, LB, DB. Let me just look at this Raiders depth chart here because we got to get the Penn State tackle off the board here soon. They got Colton Miller, who's okay. I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and grab him. He's been primarily a left tackle throughout his entire Nittany Lions career. What about Fuaga here? He's been a right tackle. So maybe we get them Tylese Fuaga here, who's a locked-in right tackle. Maybe he goes ahead of Fashanu. Raiders drafted a tight end last year that I think they feel pretty good about growing. But let's go ahead and get them a starting right tackle. And then the New Orleans Saints, QB, tackle, defensive line. If we can get Fashanu off the board here, I think that would make a lot of sense. Andrews Pete getting up there in age. They have Cesar Ruiz and Ryan Ramczyk on the right side here. So I think locking in the left tackle, Olamiyiwa Fashanu. Let's go with the Penn State tackle here for the Saints. All right, Indianapolis Colts need wide receiver, offensive line, DL, and DB. Maybe we get them. I want to get Brock freaking Bowers off the board here soon. He's got a top 10 ADP. I don't know if he's going to go that high, but I'm certainly interested in seeing what he can do. But let's look at this Colts depth chart real quick. I mean, Pittman Jr. is great. We like Josh Downs. Alec Pierce kind of fizzled out year 2. They could use some receiver depth here. I love the offensive line. They got 2 first-round picks here with Nelson and Ryan Kelly. Braden Smith, the second rounder, held up. They do need some help at right guard, and Bernard Raymond, I think, held his own last year at left tackle. Maybe they could take a tight end here. Jelani Woods, Kylan Granson, Mo Alie-Cox, Will Mallory. This team loves tight end. I don't know if there's a future for Mo Alie-Cox. Granson entering his 3rd season. Jelani Woods entering I think it's going to be his 3rd season. Maybe it makes sense for them to grab a tight end. They have Kwity Paye, the former first-round pick, on defense, and that's it. Only 1 first-round pick here on defense. So linebackers could be overhauled here. The secondary, I think, could be addressed as well. I do want to get Brock Bowers off the board here soon, but I don't know if I can do it. Terrion Arnold here is a player who's popping up well, and he kind of plays around a lot. He plays on the corner. You can play slot, box. 3D line snaps is interesting for a cornerback. So maybe we give them the best cornerback available here. It does say they need offensive linemen here, but I don't know. Is Bernard Raymond, did he hold up last year at left tackle? If you're a Colts fan, let me know. Maybe he's fine. Otherwise, I think I'm going to lock in Terrion Arnold here, the cornerback, and give them some defensive help. Seattle Seahawks, it says they need guard, center, and edge. I'm going to have fun with this one. I'm going to go Bo Nix. I'm just going to run this pick in here. Bo Nix, quarterback, sit behind Geno Smith for a year. I know Drew Lock is there as well, so I'm not sure how that would work. Maybe I don't do this. I think this is a really fun idea, and I think Seattle's one of the first serious teams that really need to consider taking Bo Nix here. But man, the Seahawks need a lot of things, so I don't want to rush this pick. I think DK Smith-Njigba is fine. They do need some help after Lockett, though. I think Jake Bobo is fine. Offensive line, Charles Cross, Damian Lewis, Evan Brown, Phil Haynes, and Abraham Lucas. They need centers and interior linemen pretty bad here. So I don't know. I don't think there's anybody on the list that makes sense for interior offensive linemen. The highest ranked one is 52. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable giving them a reach at that position. Tight end, they got Noah Fant. I don't know if he's going to be there forever. Will Dissly, they could use a tight end Brock Bowers here falling. I think that makes a lot of sense. Only 2 first-round picks here, Jordan Brooks and Devin Witherspoon. So they could use, some offensive linemen, some defensive linemen here. I think the best edge rusher is Laiatu Latu. Outside tackle, he's lined up a little bit around, but this looks pretty good here. 15 sacks last year, 12 the year before. Let me look at the edge rushers again here. Boy Mafe here and Uchenna Nwosu, the outside linebacker here. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to give them the best edge rusher available here. Seattle needs more edge rushers. Moving on to the Jags. Guard, center, edge, DB. They got Evan Ingram, so I'm going to give Brock Bowers to the Bengals here. But I do think The Jags, man, they need some offensive lineman help if I'm not mistaken here. They have Cam Robinson. I don't know how he's holding up. Ezra Cleveland, Luke Fortner, Brandon Scherf, and Antoine Harrison here. So I think they could definitely use some reinforcements on the offensive line. Definitely need some help in the safety. I think, this is a cornerback and safety. This is a really bad group here from Jacksonville. I think Tyson Campbell's okay, but I don't really know. Kool-Aid McKinstry maybe makes a little bit of sense here. Alabama, let's just get them a cornerback and move on to Cincinnati Bengals. And this is probably the lowest you're going to see Brock Bowers go. I think it's a little rare to see a top 10 tight end go. I don't know if we're going to get it. I think this would be where he falls to if he does slide out of the top 10. Cincinnati needs a tight end. They really haven't had one for a while. Honestly, since Tyler Eifert left, and he was injured often there. So we'll get Joe Burrow, a really good tight end. The man is fantastic. 717 yards last year, 6 touchdowns, 942 the year before, 7 touchdowns. His freshman year, 882 and 13 touchdowns. Just ultra productive. He can block well as well, and he's just the best tight end in the draft. So we'll get him going to Cincinnati. The Rams could use a lot of things. It does say QB, offensive line, DL, LB, and defensive back. I don't know if we're going to just give them Bo Nix here. I think offensive line and defensive line is where I want to look. They could probably use some more wide receivers, honestly. But let's go ahead and look at the LA Rams. Their offensive lineman, Alaric Jackson, whoever that is, we're going to give them J.C. Latham here, the best tackle. He's a right tackle. Let's see the Rams' right tackle here. It's Bob Havenstein. I don't know. I don't know. So Amarius Mims here is another guy, right tackle here. He's hasn't played a lot of games, but he's a big touted name. So let's go ahead and get J.C. Latham in there, the right tackle for the Rams. Maybe they can move him to the left. I'm not sure. Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock here. Center, linebacker, DB. I'm not sure there's a linebacker here that makes sense. I'm not seeing anybody really ranked in the first round as a off the ball linebacker. So not happening there. They do need a center. Is there a center? And again, you got a lot of centers here late in the second round here, so I don't see that being the move. Defensive back though, the Steelers were pretty bad against wide receivers last year. Obviously they have Joey Porter Jr. who they like here, but Patrick Peterson's old. After that, it gets really thin really quickly here. So I think looking at the cornerback position makes a ton of sense. You're going to have to reach. Ennis Rakestraw Jr. is the highest rated cornerback here. He lined up a good amount in the slot, a lot of just main outside corner here, but highly productive player in the SEC. Looks like he was a 2-year starter, didn't play much his freshman year, but overall, I like what I'm seeing here. He's got a good run defense grade here too, so I think Pittsburgh's going to like that if they can get him a lot of zone, and we'll see. I think I'm going to do it. I think at pick number 20, Bo Nix is on the board here. That is kind of where he's ranked number 20th here. Let's just do it. Let's get Bo Nix to the Steelers, and I don't know. We could go offensive lineman there. We could go corner. I do think that Kenny Pickett's not the answer, though. They need to bring in competition and basically take another swing at it with that kind of 20th overall pick makes a lot of sense. The Dolphins, they need tight end and offensive line, it's saying. Interesting that there's only 2 needs on the Miami Dolphins. But anyways, let's look at what the Dolphins are putting out there. Teron Armstead, I think he's getting up there in age. Isaiah Wynn, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, and Austin Jackson, right tackle. So they could really use some help here. What's going on with Teron Armstead? He's got to be like 36 years old or something like that. He's 32. So maybe they draft another left tackle. I think I could see that. Amarius Mims here is the right tackle. But they do have Austin Jackson there, so I don't know if that's the move. I want them to get a tight end that they can actually use, but they don't seem to use that position. And they do need an edge rusher here. They have Jalen Phillips, who I like quite a bit, but other than that, they don't have any edge depth here. So let's go ahead and look at Chris Broswell or Braylon Trice. Broswell, a 3-year starter at Alabama, had 13 sacks, 4 and a 1 the last 3 seasons. A lot of QB hurries last year, though. 33 QB hurries, then 21, then 9. Looking at Braylon Trice's numbers here, holy God. 8 sacks, 9 sacks, but 53 hurries and 46 hurries the last couple seasons out of this Braylon Trice. I'm going to have some fun with this one. We're gonna give them Braylon Trice, the edge rusher here over the Bama guy. And then moving on to Philadelphia, you have wide receiver needs, linebacker, defensive back. I don't think they need to spend a first round pick on a wide receiver, maybe they could. I think they need defensive back help because they were one of the worst teams defending the pass all year. They sucked against quarterbacks, they sucked against wide receivers, and they have good names here: Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Avonte Maddox, but these guys just did not play well. They also have Bradley Roby. So I think looking strictly at what they need, that is what they need. I do like the LSU receiver Brian Thomas, but he's more of a deep field stretcher. I don't know if he's a guy. Maybe he does complement AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, but I think they have more glaring needs than that side of the ball. So we're going to give them the best corner back available, and that's Ennis Rakestraw Jr. We looked at him earlier. The Texans, who would have thought they'd be picking 23rd overall? They need wide receiver, tight end, defensive line, and linebacker. Let's take a peek at this Texans depth chart. I love Nico. I love Tank Dell. They could use some more depth at the wide receiver position. Maybe they get another field stretcher from the LSU wide receiver school. The line is good. Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, Juice Strug, Shaq Mason, Titus Howard. They just need to get these guys healthy. I love that offensive line. They could use a tight end, but I don't think there's one worth taking in this side of the draft here. They also need a running back. I think Devin Singletary is a free agent. Maybe Damian Pierce is the guy next year. Not quite sure. They obviously got Will Anderson last year in the first. Jonathan Greenard's okay. Derek Barnett, Jerry Hughes. We could use some more edge rushers here, but look at this interior defensive line. Sheldon Rankins, who we like, and Malik Collins. I think both guys could be upgraded. The linebackers, Christian Harris, Blake Cashman, Denzel Perryman. Linebacker is a big need here. I like the corners, though. Derek Stingley Jr., Steven Nelson's getting up there in age. The safeties, Peter and Jimmy Ward, are pretty good, too. I like this team. So, what do we give them? I really like this Byron Murphy. I really like the tackle here, Jordan Morgan. Armarius Mims is a right tackle. Do they need a right tackle, though? They got Titus Howard, so they're fine at tackle. It's either, a field stretching wide receiver like Brian Thomas. I really like Troy Franklin. I think he's a lot of fun. Almost 1,400 yards last year. He's a big play threat. You could have Nico Collins on the outside. You could have Troy Franklin on the outside with little Tank Dell kind of doing all kinds of things. This could be a really fun pick. 81 catches, almost 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns last year. Let's have fun with it. I'm going to go Troy Franklin here to the Houston Texans. And then we're going to get to the Cowboys. They need running back, center, DL, LB. They need a lot of things here. And this is going to be a very important draft for them. Honestly, I think they could use receiver help. Besides CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup are up there in age. They just didn't really do much last year, and they kind of got to get CeeDee Lamb another wingman. Offensive line here, they need a right tackle. Terrence Steele, they got Tyron Smith up there in age. I like Tyler Smith. I like Tyler Biotish. Zach Martin's fine getting up there in age as well. So right tackle makes a lot of sense. Defensively, a really good side of the ball for them. I think they could maybe get a new linebacker here to replace Van Der Esch. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. Damone Clark, maybe. But Armarius Mims, 3-year starter, 2.5-year starter, basically, here. Not a good grade, but he fits a huge position of need for them at the right tackle. Otherwise, Jordan Morgan here is a left tackle, and we know the left tackle here is getting old. Tyron Smith, maybe this is the move. He's a kind of a free agent. So I'm going to go Jordan Morgan here. I'm just going to get him a tackle. Could be the right tackle, could be the left tackle. And then we get to the Packers. Pick number 25, running back, tackle, defensive line, and safety is the need. I do think they need edge rusher. After Rashawn Gary, they did take Lucas Van Ness last year. I don't know how much longer Preston Smith's going to be around, but the Packers always seem to like grabbing edge rushers and offensive linemen. I don't know if they're going to grab, an Armarius Mims. Maybe they grab. I really like this Byron Murphy for the Texas Longhorns here. Not a lot of sacks, but a lot of hurries. And playing from the A gap and the B gap, he kind of fits what the Packers want to do. It fits one of their needs of defensive end. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go Byron Murphy here for the Packers at number 25. I could have taken the edge rusher too, but I think, adding to the interior defensive line is always a good move. Tampa Bay, they need a lot. Running back, tight end, guard, center, edge, linebacker, corner. They could use a lot of help. I'm struggling to think of some Tampa Bay edge rushers right now. And I just know that they could use that help there. They have Logan Hall and Shaq Barrett. Kalijah Kancey's a good player, but these guys are defensive linemen here. Shaq Barrett and Yaya Diaby. Maybe we get an edge rusher here. I like Joe Tryon Shoyinka in the long term, but never a bad idea to double down on that. I love the interior, line here. Logan Hall, Vita Vea, and Kalijah Kancey is super sexy. Linebacker is a need for the future. Devin White's not really working out. They could use some cornerbacks though. Jameel Dean, Carlton Davis are fine. So in this one, we're going to give them edge rusher Chris Braswell. Maybe Michael Penix Jr. is a good spot here, unless they commit to Baker Mayfield. But we'll see. We're going to give them an edge rusher. The Arizona Cardinals, we gave them Marvin Harrison Jr. at the top of the draft. Let's just double check. The Cardinals have a ton of needs here. Where is the Arizona Cardinals? All right, Arizona Cardinals. Come on. They need receiver. Marquise Brown, Michael Wilson, Rondale Moore. We gave them Marvin Harrison. They need offensive linemen, mostly interior. Paris Johnson, great. DJ Humphries getting up there in age. But interior offensive line definitely could use an upgrade. They could use a running back, but they're not going to blow a first-round pick. They already got their quarterback. Defensively, we could go anywhere we want with this one. I think Zaven Collins is the best player on defense right now. Budda Baker. Otherwise, anything else goes. Like safety and Zaven Collins are the best players. So we can go whatever we want here. Maybe Cam Kitchens, a fun player here, a safety from Miami. Had a great 2022. Regressed a little bit in 2023, but he still played fairly well. He didn't have as many tackles, but again, he basically filled out all the numbers pretty much the same to me. And he moves around a lot of deep, a lot of box, a lot of slot. He's versatile. He's got a nice run grade here. I think getting a wingman maybe for Budda Baker makes a lot of sense. Jalen Thompson, don't know much about him, but cornerback or safety would be my primary choice for the Cardinals with this pick. I don't see a lot of corners here. Maybe Kamari Lassiter is a guy that interests them. Primary and outside corner. Really good coverage grade and solid against the run here. So maybe it's Kamari Lassiter. Maybe it's Cam Kitchens. I'm going to go with the cornerback, Kamari Lassiter, as they need all the help they can get. Buffalo Bills here. You have receiver, tackle, defensive line, linebacker, and DB. I kind of want to give them a receiver because Diggs is getting old. Gabe Davis is Gabe Davis. Khalil Shakir, whatever. Offensive line could use some upgrades here. Spencer Brown, Osiris Torrance, and Deion Dawkins. They do need some maybe help here on the interior offensive line, but maybe not. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, we love the tight end. We like James Cook. Defensively, they could use a left defensive tackle. I like Rousseau. I like Ed Oliver. Leonard Floyd's solid as well. He's getting up there in age. They could use some linebacker help next to Matt Milano, Trey White, Rasul Douglas, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Teron Johnson. Don't know much about Teron Johnson, so maybe they could use a nickel cornerback, but otherwise, not really quite sure how to help this team. We can give them a really good field stretcher here. And this is the guy here that I think is a little bit boom bust, but he did show growth for 3 straight seasons, 68 catches, almost 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns last year from Brian Thomas. The LSU wide receiver is pretty fun. Lad McConkey, not sure I'm interested there. Devontae Walker. The receivers are starting to get thin. I do like Keon Coleman down here, but I'm going to go – I kind of want to go wide receiver with this team. They need more offensive firepower. Otherwise, maybe defensive linemen. Daquan Jones, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver. It's a good rotation already, though. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do. I think they have a little bit of luxury with this pick. So I'm gonna give them wide receiver here, Brian Thomas. If you don't like Brian Thomas, you can give him your next favorite wide receiver. The Lions, guard, center, DL, cornerback. I think we have to go on the defensive side of the ball for Detroit. That is their major area that I would like to see them address this summer. But what do? Kirby Joseph's good. Melifanu at safety. They have good safeties here, but cornerback, they need cornerback. I like Brian Branch. Cam Sutton's solid. But Kindle Vildor, they could always use more help here. I like Anzalone. They could use, some more front 7 type defensive linemen. I think that makes a lot of sense. They could go wide receiver here too. I don't know if we need a right tackle. They have Penei Sewell here, so that's not happening. They have Taylor Decker. I think they're pretty good at offensive line for the most part here. So safety is one of the players or the positions of good need right now. Otherwise, if I keep going down, Quinion Mitchell here, Toledo, the top-rated cornerback right now. A lot of outside corner. I don't know much about him. Maybe a good combine here. He's a small school guy. I don't know if he's going to get drafted in the first round, but I think he makes a lot of sense. And again, I mentioned I like the safeties, Kirby Joseph and Melifonwu. Not sure they're going to grab a guy like that. Alim McNeil, Josh Pascal, Tyson Aluau. Let's get them. And I'm just kind of grasping at straws here, guys. I'm not really quite sure what to do. I want to give him a safety because that's what I like adding the secondary here. I don't know if the Toledo guy is going to go. TJ Tampa is an interesting player here, mostly an outside corner out of Iowa State. But I'm just going to give them a beefy defensive lineman, Leonard Taylor here, a guy that can line up in the A, B, over the tackle a little bit. I think he's a productive player here, gets a lot of QB hurries, not a lot of sacks, but he can pass rush, and he's just a guy that I think makes sense for Detroit right now. Baltimore says they need wide receiver. Maybe this is a spot where we get, I don't know if they're a Lad McConkey type receiver here. He wasn't really productive here. I don't know if I'm in full agreement with them ranking him this high. I do like Devontae Walker, though. He missed a lot of 2023 here, but he was very productive in 2022. 11 touchdowns, 58 catches, almost 1,000 yards. He's a fun, athletic player. And then you have Keon Coleman from Florida State, who put together 2 decent seasons here. He regressed a little bit in 2023. I don't know if I want to give the Ravens a wide receiver here. They just took Zay Flowers last year. I think we're going to see more Isaiah Likely, more Mark Andrews together this year, but they do need someone to step up. Maybe it's Rashad Bateman finally. I'm not quite sure. Morgan Moses, the right tackle here. Maybe we get them a right tackle, and that would be Armarius Mims. So I'm just going to do it. Armarius Mims, the right tackle for the Ravens. And then we get to the Super Bowl teams, the Kansas City Chiefs, receiver and defensive line. They do need wide receiver here. They also need defensive line, which I'm not sure I agree with, but Jonah Ellis. Outside tackle, B gap. He can line up all over the place. 13 sacks last year. Maybe this is a player that piques their interest. I do want to get them a wide receiver, though, as it's pretty bad. It's Rashee Rice and nothing else. They could use. They got Jawan Taylor at right tackle. Maybe Donovan Smith gets updated as a left tackle. So I could see left tackle Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Tershawn Wharton, Mike Dana. Maybe a defensive end makes a little bit of sense here. I just don't know if I can find one here that makes that much sense. But Jonah Elise, he's an outside tackle defensive end. He kind of fits what I'm looking for here. I like Adonai Mitchell here. He's had kind of a weird outlook here. He played a lot his freshman year. I don't know if he got hurt in 2022, and then he played a lot last year. He's an interesting guy. I believe he's a bigger body, 6'4", almost 200 pounds. Xavier Legette, 1,255 yards last year, 7 touchdowns, 6'3", 227. This could be an interesting guy here. He didn't have, good seasons the first 2, so he's kind of, you're banking on a 1-year profile here. So I don't know which receiver to give them. I do like Xavier Worthy as well. I think he was productive for all 3 straight seasons. He's a guy that I could see stepping in here. But I'm going to go defensive side of the ball here for the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to get them the best edge rusher available, and that's Jonah Ellis here out of the Utah program. My bad. And then last but not least, the 49ers here. Maybe they're picking 31. Maybe they're picking 32. Nobody knows. But I want to thank you for hanging out with me for these last 40 or so minutes. How do you make the 49ers better? They're already so damn good. I do think a third receiver wouldn't be a terrible thing. Juwan Jennings is okay. They do run a lot of 3 wide receiver stuff. Obviously, they have a ton of talent on defense here. I don't know who to pick out and say, let's upgrade that position. So I think they're truly in a best case of, best player available situation. They have Tayshaun Gibson and Jair Brown at starting safety. Maybe we just grab a safety here, whether it's Cam Kitchens or Tyler Nubin. I've actually seen Tyler Nubin starting to move up board. So I'm going to go with a safety here for the 49ers. Michael Penix fell out of my first round, but there you go. This is my recap here of the entire first round mock draft. And again, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just having fun. You guys can rate my mock draft at the end of the video here. Let me know how I did. But to recap, we went Caleb Williams to Chicago, number 2, Drake May to the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, quarterback for the New England Patriots. Marvin Harrison fell to the Cardinals. Chargers go Malik Neighbors at 5. Giants start the defense here with Cooper DeJean, cornerback out of Iowa, Joe Alt, the tackle to Tennessee, Jerzon Newton to Atlanta, the defensive lineman, Rome Odunze to Chicago at 9. The Jets get an edge rusher, Dallas Turner. The Vikings get an edge rusher, Jared Verse. The Broncos take another cornerback from Clemson, Nate Wiggins. And then we have a little bit of tackles going on here. The Raiders take Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. And then the Penn State tackle goes to New Orleans, Fashanu. Colts grab a cornerback, Terrion Arnold. The Seahawks grab a edge rusher, Latu out of UCLA. And then the second half here, Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback to the Jags. Brock Bowers, tight end to the Bengals. Rams grab a tackle, J.C. Latham. The Steelers grab Bo Nix, see what they can do at quarterback. Braylon Trice, the edge rusher to Miami. Ennis Rakestraw Jr., cornerback to Philadelphia. Troy Franklin, the receiver out of Oregon, goes to Houston. Jordan Morgan, tight end or tackle for Dallas. Packers grab a defensive lineman, Byron Murphy out of Texas. The Buccaneers get edge rusher Chris Broswell from Alabama. The Cardinals go cornerback with Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia. Brian Thomas, the LSU wide receiver, goes to Buffalo. And the Detroit Lions are going to grab Leonard Taylor, defensive lineman out of Miami. Baltimore gets Amarius Mims, tackle from Georgia. And then who knows? The Chiefs grabbed an edge rusher out of Utah, Jonah Ellis, and the 49ers grabbed Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota. So that was a mouthful. Thank you for hanging out with me till the end. Let me know what you guys think. And we'll do more of these. Again, these are just for fun. I'm just kind of going through my process of what teams need, and I'll just get better and better as I do these. So thank you again for your time. Enjoy the rest of your morning, day, night, whatever you need. We'll see you next time. Peace.